We expect the prosecution to rest its case soon, possibly tomorrow. The defense has yet to announce its witness lists. Based on defense attorney Eric Nelson's opening statement, we have some idea of the arguments they will make.
The evidence will show that when confronted by police, Mr. Floyd put drugs in his mouth in an effort to conceal them from the police. You will see that 3 Minneapolis police officers could not overcome the strength of Mr. Floyd. Mr. Chauvin stands 5'9", 140 pounds. Mr. Floyd is 6'3", weighs 223 pounds. And you will learn that Derek Chauvin did exactly what he had been trained to do over the course of his 19-year career. The use of force is not attractive, but it is a necessary component of policing.
Let's wrap up with our panel. And Katie Phang, let me start back with you in another clip from the opening argument, this one involving the crowd that witnessed the encounter last May.
As the crowd grew in size, seemingly so too did their anger. And remember, there's more to the scene than just what the officers see in front of them. There are people behind them. There are people across the street. There are cars stopping, people yelling. There is a growing crowd and what officers perceive to be a threat.
Katie, walk me through the logic of what they might be trying to set up in terms of how the crowd might act as an exonerating factor for Derek Chauvin.
Well, we've heard through the cross-examination by Mr. Chauvin's counsel of some of these witnesses throughout the course of the prosecution's case in chief, the suggestion that the distraction caused by the bystanders and the other civilians on the sidewalk made it difficult for the officers to do their job. It also created a heightened tension, and that is the reason why they had to remain on Mr. Floyd for as long as they did, because they had to make sure that Mr. Floyd didn't suddenly jump out of his handcuffs and wrestle with the police again and resist arrest again. And then they also had to manage the bystanders. Here's the bottom line, Joshua. This defense is now getting played over and over again by them, and it is getting tired and old. And you have to be very careful when you are an attorney in front of a jury to not insult their intelligence. And the reason why I say that is the video that we have seen, not only from the body cam of the officers, but from the actual people that were on the street that were using their phones, there are no threats being made by those bystanders. There are no rocks being thrown. There's no menacing actions that are being done by these people. And so to continue to beat this dead horse is ridiculous, and it really should have stopped a long time ago. I don't think that there's been a reassessment by Chauvin's counsel in terms of the value of that defense. If they want to run with the medical defense, that's one thing. If they want to go with the use of force defense, that's another thing. But to suggest that this crowd of bystanders is going to exonerate and completely exculpate Derek Chauvin from liability in this case is absurd. And I think, again, it's insulting to the intelligence of these jurors.
Professor Butler, another possible defense, it's this concept of excited delirium, which is a controversial concept, essentially saying that people become agitated or distressed after they've used drugs or perhaps during a mental health episode that could play a factor. The prosecution tried to rebut, I think, this potential argument when questioning Dr. Bradford Langenfeld, who was the senior resident on duty at the Hennepin County Medical Center on the night that George Floyd died. Listen.
Were you able to make any assessments about so-called excited delirium based on your examination of Mr. Floyd?
Certainly there was no report that the patient was ever very sweaty, which is often the case when thinking about excited delirium. There was no report that the patient had ever been, that Mr. Floyd had ever been extremely agitated. In my experience, seeing a lot of cases of mental health crises or drug use leading to severe agitated states, that is almost always reported by paramedics. And so the absence of that information was telling, and that I didn't have any reason to believe that that was the case.
Briefly, Professor Butler, what do you make of excited delirium as a possible defense? Briefly.
Excited delirium is used more often by defense attorneys than by doctors. It's not a diagnosis that's been recognized by any leading medical organization. It's used to justify violence against African American bodies and other people of color. It sums up stereotypes of black folks wild out on drugs with superhuman strength. You heard the defense in its opening statement say that Mr. Floyd was so strong that 3 officers couldn't contain him. It's dealing the race card from the bottom of the deck.
And last, Professor Paulus, in our last few seconds, could I just ask you, what's the mood like in the Twin Cities right now as the defense prepares to make its case? How are folks doing where you are, briefly?
People are anxious, but I think people are also hopeful. And I think it's been helpful to have leaders from across the country, including Reverend Sharpton, reminding us that we're all appealing to a higher power for justice in this case. And that's certainly what we're hoping for when the jury renders its verdict.
It's also been very helpful having the 3 of you with us to walk us through this week's testimony. Georgetown Law Professor Paul Butler, attorney Katie Fang, and St. Thomas Law Professor Rachel Paulos. Everyone, thanks very much.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.